Hello, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Oston back again with another simple tutorial. So what you're seeing on your screen is a library called numbered. See, so what this library does, you can stringify any number into words and pass a number strings back to a number. So this is what it means. Here you can enter any number, and when you click convert, they will give it to you in words. Then on the right hand side, you can enter any number in words. Let's just copy this, what they have given us, paste it here, and click convert, and they will give us the same number. So I also added some simple bit of like number format. So this object that you're seeing here, the international number format, it just puts a comma where it's appropriate. So we are going to be looking at this as we go on. So let us save this, and we're just going to be having something that looks like this. Nothing is happening. So let's first tour around these HTML documents. So I have two files, index.html and script.js, which is currently empty at the moment, but this is the simple markup. I'm going to be leaving all the code on GitHub. You can just pull out and use the same project or work on your own. So right now I'm just having this simple materialized CSS framework where it's the one giving me this simple design that you're seeing here, and the grid system side by side. So that's just styling, not JavaScript, but styling. So let us see the input fields. I have this input field with the ID of number, and it's the one that you're seeing here. Then I have another input field here with the ID of number text, the one that you're seeing here. So these are two different input fields. Let me remove that autocomplete stuff. Autocomplete, and I set it to off. So I don't want it to be displaying things that I already entered. So right now it's off. They are not displaying that autocomplete stuff. So down here is where we are going to be outputting our values. So I have a div with the ID of output 1, which is responsible for this side, and another div with the ID of output 2, responsible for this area. So when we enter number here, the div with the ID of output 1 is on this side, on the left hand side, and the div with the ID of output 2 is on the right hand side. So this is all just styling. You get it, guys? But the important part is you have a div where you're going to be outputting the first value, and the another div where you're going to be outputting the second value for this input field. So those are the only stuffs that I have. Not forgetting about these submit buttons. Each has a different ID or a unique ID of btn1 for button 1 and btn2 for button 2. So each input field has a button. Let's jump straight into the action. So what you have to do is just link the numbered library on your page or file. So you just come here and copy either the minified version, the raw version. Yeah, between this and this, just copy. So I copied the minified version and I put it here. So just make sure your script.js is below that file, because the script.js is dependent on this. So this one's like the parent stuff, like it has to be on top, because whatever our script.js file is going to be getting, it's getting it from this file. I hope you're good with that. Then for you guys who like using npm stuff, node, there is a simple explanation here on their official GitHub repo. So you just say npm install numbered -- save, and then require it in your file, and you'll be able to use these functions, the number.parse and the numbered.stringify, and they give you a very, very clear and simple explanation below here. So for parse, you pass in a number, like in words, and then for stringify, you pass a real number, and they give it to you into text. Very, very simple. So this is what we are going to do, is jump to our script.js file, and we now get access to the first input field or element. So it has an ID of number. So here we are going to create a variable const and say number field. So that's what I'm going to call it, number field, and assign it to document.querySelector. And then we select that ID of number. So that word, say hash number. So right now we have access to that element. The second thing, let us get access to the btn or the submit button. So it has the ID of btn1. So I'm just going to stay generic and I call it const. The variable is going to be button1 to make it obvious, and we access that element. So document.querySelector, query selector, and it has an ID of btn1. So hash btn1. Then let us also get access to the output div. So we have a div here with the ID of output1. So let us create another variable, and I'm going to call it res div. So result div, it's where they are going to be showing us the results. So result div1, and I assign it to document. So these variables are user defined. You can call them anything that you want. Don't get confused. This is my way of naming them. So the variables are user defined. You can call it anything you want. But this side, you have to do it the same way and access the same ID in your document. So document.querySelector, so it has an ID of output1. So output1. Right now we have everything we need on this side, on the left hand side. So we have access to this element, we have access to this convert button, and we have access to the result div where we're going to be outputting the text. So what we need to do is get that button 1, and we add an event listener. So when the user clicks it, so the event is click. When it's clicked, what we are going to do, since they are inside the form, we are going to prevent the default behavior of a form refreshing the whole page. So we pass in the event object there, and we say e.prevent_default. So we are preventing the default behavior of a form reloading the entire page when it wants to get back data. So we want it to happen asynchronously without refreshing the page. So we have access to that. Now let us get the value what the user has entered into this input field. As you can see, even right now, what I forgot to tell you, this is a number type input field, so you can't write any text. You have to write only numbers. As you can see here in our HTML, it's a number type in field. So type equals number. So you can't write text inside that input field. So let us go back to our script.js. So let us get the value. So I'm going to create a variable here, const, and we call it num value. So the number value, what the user has entered. So remember, we have access to this input field, the one that you're seeing here. And for us to get the value, we can easily do this. We can call this variable that we created, or we assign to that element. So number field dot value. So this will get us whatever the user has input into that field, and we are storing it into this variable of num value. Very, very simple. Let me make this camel case capital V. It's naming preference. So since we have that, we can easily now inject whatever we have in our output div or this res div. This is what we can do. We can say res div1 dot inner HTML, and we assign it to, first I'm going to just output the real text. We can assign it to numbered. So this is coming from the library dot stringify, and then we pass in the number that we want to stringify. This is, remember, we are getting this value, so whatever the person has input in this field, we are storing it into this variable. So we want to stringify that value, whatever the user's input. You forgive me for the noise in the background. So let us save and see. Oh, what's happening? Oh, so let us put like 5 and click convert. As you can see, they are giving us 5. Let us put like this, and they're telling us 5 billion. So let us, now since I'm using materialized CSS, there is a simple way we can justify this text, and we wrap it into a paragraph. So I'm going to cut out this, and I turn it to a template and say paragraph template string. So I've passed it into a template string and paste whatever we had there, and I give this paragraph a class of, so these stylings will be coming from the materialized CSS framework that I included, and it will be having float text. It will make somehow this text big. So let's say 1 million. Yeah, somehow you'll be able to see the text clearly. So whatever the person enters here, they will be outputting it in 2 words. And this is what we are having. So very, very simple. It's a nice example. So let's say you have a huge number and you don't know how to write it in words. You can easily copy it, paste it here, and convert it into words. Very, very simple. So that's how important this library is, the numbered library. So I remember I told you guys, if you like using Node, you can just include it like this in your projects. Right now we are using a CDN, a content delivery network link, that accesses this library and just work with it on a fly. So what we are going to do is we are going to now cross this side on the right hand side. Let's say you have this and you want it in 2 figures. So we want to be able to copy this, paste it here, and convert that into real numbers. So from words to numbers. That's what we are going to be doing next. So this is for the numbers. That's what you're seeing here. Now let us jump this side. Let's say somebody brings this text and they want to get it in 2 words. Very, very simple. So I'm just going to create here a comment. So text number field. So I'm just writing. So we can even copy this and just change the variable names and the IDs that they are accessing to like summarize on time. And I'm just going to call this one text number field, and what we want to access is this ID. So we have another input field here with the ID of number text. So here we access that. So that's the ID we are accessing, and I'm going to call this one button 2, since we have another submit button here with the ID of btn2. So here the ID that we'll be accessing is btn2. Then here I'm going to call it res div2, so result div2, and the output field or the element that we are accessing is this with the ID of output 2. Then come here and call it output 2. So we have access to this elements with different variables. Remember the first, it was for the first input field on the left hand side, this. Now we are working on this. The same thing that we are going to do is get button. I would have copied even the other stuff, and we add event listener. And here we are going to again pass in the event object. So put in this arrow function, and then we prevent the default behavior. Prevent default. So we don't want the whole page to refresh when they are getting that value back. And we are going to create another, almost we are doing the same thing. So text num. So this is user defined value. This is how I've called it. And we want to access this text number field, and we get the value, what the users input into that field. And then later we want to get this res div2. So the result div2 dot inner HTML, and we assign it to this. So I'm going to put these template strings and put the paragraph. Forgive me for the noise in the background. Give it a class of text flow, and then here we put the $ and curly brackets, and we say numbered.parse. Remember, here we want to pass a string into a number. So these are two functions. For Stringify, you pass into a number into string. Here for parse, you pass a number like a text or a string into a number. So here we get this value, and we pass it into this, and we should be good to go. Let's write a random number here, and they give it into words. So if we are to copy this, we should get this same value here. So if we are to paste this and say convert, so we are getting the same value here, guys. As you can see, I don't know why this is not bold. Flow text, I said text flow. Flow dash text. So if you are to copy this and convert, it should be giving us this number. I can say 10. Now I hope you guys are saying, what if somebody says hello, and the library will be giving you 0 because hello is not a number. Get? So that's it. If you write any other word that's not a number, it will be giving you back 0. So guys, I hope that's a simple example that I've shown you 1 trillion, and it will be outputting that. Now for this international number format, I already even have a tutorial about it. You're going to see it popping up there. So it will be putting commas in appropriate places. So let's say you want to be easily to see where the 3 digits like numbers stop. So we can easily come here. I'm going to create a simple variable here, const, and I say formatted num, and assign it to, I'm going to assign it to new international number format, and we say dot format, and the number that we want format is this. So we copy this, cut it. So I've cut it and paste it here, and what we want to output is this formatted number here. So if you are to go this side and write 1 trillion and convert, so they will be putting commas in appropriate places. So that's what the Intel number format object does. So as I said, I have a tutorial about this. You will see it popping up again or linked in the description below. So if you have to copy this and put it this side, paste it, it will come clean without those commas. And if I am to click convert, they will tell me 1 trillion. So this is how easy it is to work with this numbered library. So guys, if you like this tutorial, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Guys, push me to 10k because I'm soon reaching there, and I'll be glad for you to do that. So guys, as I said, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be seeing you in the next tutorials. Peace.